Razy Ritz, and welcome to another episode of How to...
No, I can't do this. No, it's too hot and I can't breathe. I'm not doing this. I'm sorry, I can't. Sorry. Background change. Ooh. As I tried saying before, hello you crazy kids, and welcome to another episode of How to Voice It, starring, I'm guessing it's me. I'm sure you could probably tell from the intro, but today I am teaching you how to do a Scooby-Doo voice in honor of the 50th anniversary of Scooby-Doo. That's this year. My parents grew up with Scooby-Doo, I grew up with the Scooby-Doo reruns, and Scooby-Doo Where Are You continues to be one of my all-time favorite cartoons. And I figured now is as good a time as any to do a How to Voice It for Scooby-Doo. Please note that I myself am not a professional voice acting coach, and therefore this video should not be taken as a professional voice acting tutorial. Without further ado, let's go. Before we start practicing the voice, it should be said that the Scooby-Doo voice has not been the same throughout the years. If you don't want to hear about the history of the Scooby-Doo voice actors, you can just jump to this time right here in the video, and that will take you to the beginning of the tutorial, but I really think if you do that, you're gonna miss out on a lot of good information. The very first voice actor for Scooby-Doo was the legendary Don Messick, who played the talking dog from 1969 to 1996. You might also recognize Don Messick's character work from other Hanna-Barbera cartoons, including Bam Bam from the Flintstones, Astro the Dog from the Jetsons, Boo Boo and Ranger Smith from the Yogi Bear Show, Hampton J. Pig from Tiny Toon Adventures, and Dr. Benton Quest in Johnny Quest. Scooby-Doo was always known to have a raspy voice, and this was due in part to Don Messick's smoking habit. He did quit smoking in 1996, but unfortunately could not attain the raspy voice that smoking had allowed him to produce. He suffered a stroke while recording voices for Hanna-Barbera and decided to retire after that. He suffered another stroke shortly after that and passed away in October of 1997. Rest in peace, Don. The next voice actor for the monster hunting dog, albeit a short run, was Hadley Kay in 1997, who voiced Scooby in two different Hanna-Barbera specials, including Bravo Dooby-Doo, a crossover with Johnny Bravo. The next voice actor from 1998 to 2002 is one of my favorites, Scott Ennis. Ennis is a radio personality who voiced the character in the four popular direct-to-VHS Scooby-Doo movies. These were Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island, Scooby-Doo and the Witch's Ghost, Scooby-Doo and the Alien Invaders, and Scooby-Doo and the Cyber Chase, my all-time favorite. Ennis also voiced Scooby's best bud Shaggy Rogers in The Witch's Ghost, Alien Invaders, and Cyber Chase. He voiced Scrappy-Doo in the 2002 live-action movie. Even after 2002, Ennis continued to voice at least one of those three characters for video games, Cartoon Network bumpers, Warner Brothers theme park attractions, commercials for McDonald's, Halifax Bank, DirecTV, Go-Gurt, and Walmart, and he's still in the game even though he's not the main voice actor for Scooby anymore. Even though I kind of wish he were. I'm a little biased though because I was a little kid when his movies came out and I loved them. I even wrote a fan letter to him when I was 8 years old, but I don't think it ever got sent out because I did not know what his address was. And the internet was a confusing thing back then. It's even more confusing now. All that cyberspace. See what I did there? Next up, we have Neil Fanning, who voiced the character from 2002 to 2004 specifically for the live-action movies Scooby-Doo and Scooby-Doo 2 Monsters Unleashed. During the same time, from 2002 to right now on the animated side, is Frank Welker. You're probably wondering why that name sounds so familiar, and that's because Frank Welker has been the voice of Fred Jones from 1969 all the way until right now. He's been driving that mystery machine for the past 50 years. You might also recognize Frank Welker from his work in Codename Kids Next Door, Lilo and Stitch the series, SpongeBob, Transformers the animated series, and the Transformers movies Dark of the Moon and Age of Extinction. Now, why did I go through all of this history? Well, to point out that the voice has not been the same from person to person. Every voice actor who succeeded Don Messick tried to embody his Scooby voice while also putting their own spin on it. I guess what I'm trying to say is my Scooby-Doo voice isn't perfect, and that's okay. All of them have been different in some way, and I'm going to go through most of the variations for you. So thank you for sitting through the history lesson, I appreciate it. Let's get to learning the voice. Step 1 for learning the Scooby-Doo voice is to dig deep. Get low. And by that I mean get your voice low and lower and lower and lower
and raspier and raspier. That's about good right there.
It's almost like whispering in a really deep voice.
So you're going to talk like this to start out.
Now, getting that low, raspy voice is going to be easier for guys. It's just natural, but I do know of some women who are able to attain that raspiness even when they have a naturally higher pitched voice. So it's still possible with practice. I don't condone smoking or screaming for long periods of time in order to attain the voice. Be healthy. Step 2 to the voice is varying your pitch. If you pay attention to the way Scooby talks, he's constantly raising the pitch of his voice and lowering the pitch of his voice, almost like his voice is cracking, as if he's a burly man going through a second puberty. That's the best way I can describe it. One of the most common sounds Scooby makes is when he's confused. He goes, he's going from low to high. Step number trace is to add the R. Despite being a talking dog, Scooby-Doo still retains some of his canine-like qualities. Imagine the way a dog sounds when it barks. I can't really bark like a dog, but I imagine it could be something like this. Two common onomatopoeias for dogs barking are ruff and woof, which is where the R sound comes in with Scooby-Doo's voice. Have the R sound replace the first letter of most words. Not all words, but most. For example, some classic Scooby-Doo catchphrases include
Rex, rog, rare, row boy, Ruby Rex.
I'd like to think of my version of the Scooby-Doo voice as a combination of Don Messick's and Neil Fanning's versions, but all of them are very unique. I'd say Don Messick's is the raspiest iteration for previously stated reasons, and Scott Ennis is probably the highest pitched. So now I'm going to try to give you an example of each voice actor's version of the voice. Like, man, this is Spooksville.
Rooksville, I see him, Roy, Rex Root, Rog? Where? Row-way, Railians. Don't forget Scooby-Doo. Scooby-Dooby-Doo. Rimmage Riz everything. Raggy, Rary Rain is a rain and a rask.
One of the biggest changes with Frank Welker's version of Scooby-Doo is that the R sound isn't present most of the time, if at all. And with the newer TV series of Scooby-Doo, he's talking in complete sentences, which is a little bizarre, in my opinion. One of the things that Frank does to make the voice sound a little raspier, a little gruffer, is to puff out his cheeks while he's talking. Everything's sort of echoing in your cheeks. If you've ever heard of Droopy Dog, it's kind of like that. If you haven't heard of Droopy Dog, I would suggest Googling Droopy Dog just to get an idea of what that puffy cheek thing sounds like. One way to attain that droopy sound in your voice, in your cheeks, is to flatten your tongue out on the bottom of your mouth. Let it fill up the entire bottom of your mouth like this.
So that it covers up most of the bottom of your mouth.
So just add that to the deepness of Scooby's voice.
Can't we just be friends? It's the way I always smelled it. We're so hungry, we even eat vegetables. Why do you want the disc so bad?
Again, every voice actor put his own spin on the original voice, but whoever at Warner Television decided that Scooby-Doo should talk in full sentences, I'm not here for it. No offense to Frank Welker or anything. It's not his style. It's not Scooby-Doo. So again, I'm trying to drive home the point that you can try to sound like any of these voice actors' versions or a combination of them. These are just some of the basics with the voice. And now we've come to the fourth and final step, the laugh. The best way to attain his laugh for me is to let about half of the air out of my lungs and then sort of force the rest out while trying to do a Scooby-Doo voice. To envision this, think about a quick laugh. Now you're going to change the pitch up with it. You're going to go low to high to low. I probably sound crazy doing this. Add that R sound. Now add the gruffness of Scooby's voice. Don't overwork the laugh. Drink plenty of water. This is one of those voices that can really damage your throat if you don't take care of yourself. Stay hydrated. Okay, so to recap. Step 1, dig deep.
Work on that lower voice and add the raspiness to it.
Step 2, constantly vary your pitch.
Start with a low voice and go high, like your voice is cracking, like a burly man going through puberty.
Step 3, add the R sound.
Red the R sound. You're a real life fantasy. You're a real life fantasy.
Had to add that in. And finally, step 4, the laugh. Let about half the air out of your lungs if that works for you. Let it out in spurts, change the pitch from low to high to low, and try to retain that deep raspiness. And that is more or less how you do the Scooby-Doo voice. I really hope I was able to help you with this tutorial. I tried to break everything down as simply as I could. Again, I've heard both men and women do the voice despite their vocal range. So I hope you'll try it out. And if you want, you can send me a video on Instagram or Twitter with your version of the impression. I would love to be able to see the progress that you make.
Thanks for watching this episode. Rough Routed.
No, no, sorry, I can't. I still can't. Thanks for watching this episode of How to Voice It. I'll see you next time.
Scooby-Dooby-Doo!
Oh, my throat.